I decided to make a video because several of you have reached out to me this week, either on the text chat or via email, to tell me that you're struggling. Maybe you're struggling with your grade, you're struggling with your mental health, being inside all the time, and you're concerned about that. So I just wanted to give some unsolicited advice to all of you guys, to let you know that I'm just thinking about where everyone is at, and kind of help you to navigate this to the best of my my ability. So I just want to start by saying, I don't expect that we're all feeling normal. Yep, it's not normal to have to stay in the house all the time for days on end. It's not normal to feel terrified to go to the grocery store. This is, of course, the only time in my lifetime that we have been in this kind of, stay-at-home lockdown sort of situation. But I think it's really important for all of us to be conscientious about how we handle that. And so I just have some suggestions for those of you who are struggling with this, some ideas, for how we can handle it together as a group to support each other, and also just individually. So one of the first things that I know a lot of people are struggling with is the routine. And I'm not doing great myself, honey. I would like to be in bed at 1 or 2 in the morning and up at 10 o'clock. And I've done that a few days. And my children yelling at me when I didn't have to get up. If you are struggling with routine, if you are struggling with motivation, it might be good to just set some kind of minimal goal for yourself, to be in your room by midnight or to be up by 9 or 10. It doesn't have to be a, keep your regular routine kind of goal, but you need a certain amount of structure. Maybe something you do every day at 4 o'clock, you're going to talk to your sister. It's just a good idea to keep some sort of routine for yourself right now, so that you're not completely aimless in your focus. And I think that that's what a lot of people are really struggling with right now, right? Trying to figure out how to make a routine when your routine is so dramatically different, especially when you don't have to leave the house. So you should try to, it doesn't have to be rigid. At 8, 9, 10, I'm going to do that. You don't have to do that. Just have 1 or 2 things a day. I'm going to write in a journal at 5. I'm going to color in a coloring book. This is one of my stress relievers right there. At 6, or I'm going to talk with my children before bedtime. That's something I do sometimes to kind of get everybody on the same page. Develop just a couple things and try to hold yourself, program it in your phone to doing that every day. Another thing is to distract yourself. I talked about my lovely coloring book here. This is a distraction for me. I can color while talking to my children or talking on the phone. Just lean into your hobbies. If even something that I hate, like video games. I hate video games, but I've been letting my children do that because I know it's good to have them do something that's not just focused on a negative thing. I put up a garden. I do that sometimes, but I haven't for the last couple of years. So I'm doing a bit of gardening to distract myself. I have little games on my phone, little word games that distract me. You cannot be thinking about this all the time. That is not healthy for you. It's not healthy for anyone. So you need to have some distractions, and particularly when you start to feel really anxious or like you're really, upset or melting down. It's okay to feel those things. You don't have to totally squash that feeling, but it's also good to have things that can take your mind away from whatever it is that is bothering you, or worrying you. Notice the 16-year-old neighbor of ours, he rides a scooter in circles round and round for like 30 or 40 minutes around the cul-de-sac that we're in. I mean, that's a good thing. You can do that and keep 6 feet away from people. I take a walk, something to get your mind off of the worst case scenario, especially if you have a tendency to go there. And that might mean you also might need to cut down on some of the news. I'm a news junkie. When times are good. When times are bad, I'm a super duper news junkie. This weekend my TV went out, so I couldn't watch my usual CNN or Sometimes I watch MSNBC and Fox, but usually CNN, or listen to my national public radio. But some people, it's not good for them to do that all the time. And again, that's where the distraction comes in, to get yourself away from that. Another thing that we all could really do that would help us right now is to try to reach out and connect to other people. You know, the more depressed you get, the more down you get, the more isolated you feel. There's a tendency to want to pull back even more from people, but it's a good idea to, you know, call your friends, text your friends, even, you know, people you haven't talked to for a long time. This might be a good time to kind of work on maybe making up for some things, some time that you've missed, or some relationships that you may have not handled in the best way. I mean, some of you all, if you're not working and you're taking classes at home, maybe, you know, the time that you would have spent driving to school is time you could spend connecting with people. Maybe get in a group on social media, or maybe a group, you know, around a hobby that you have, or something to connect you to other people. You have to make that a priority. I know that's hard for me. I got 3 kids here. I'm connecting with them a lot, but I need some adults, and there are no adults in my house. So yeah, I have to call my friend Kate, you know, call my friend Abdul, see what they're doing. Call my friend Katie. I really need to call her. I haven't talked to her for a while. You know, these are things that we need to do to sort of not let ourselves feel totally alone in a time like this. The other idea that I have for all of you is, you really need, every day you need to do this. You need to think about what you are grateful for. You know, I am grateful that I am able to be home with my children, that I'm able to have a job where I can work from my home, you know. And I know some of you all are not in that position, but there might be other things that you are grateful for. Maybe you're grateful that you have a very supportive spouse, or you're, you know, you're getting more time with your children. We need to, no matter how bad things are, to try to focus on the things that are going well for us, the things that are getting us through our day and getting us through our lives. You know, as much as some things are bad, not everything is bad. There are things that are going well. You know, I have promised myself, because I'm making all these videos, I haven't been able to do it, but I promised myself I got about 7 books that I need to read, and I'm going to try to do that this summer. You know, the time that I would have spent going up to school, you know, 15 minutes a day or whatever, I can devote that to cultivating this thing, because now I have this time to do that. And I have more time with my children. Sometimes they drive me crazy, but I got more time with them. Another thing that I keep hearing people say is this whole, you know, we've never been here before. And I just want to say, you know, I'm a sociologist, but I also have a history degree. And I'm here to tell you all that's actually not true. We have been here before. Humans have faced terrible pandemics before. I mean, we've faced the plague, we've faced smallpox, you know, the flu. There's been a lot of talk in the news about the influenza pandemic of the early 1900s. I want to say 1917, 18. And the most recent one that we face is kind of similar to this is polio. I'm going to post this in the comments, but I saw a great article that talked about Franklin Roosevelt. You know, some of you may not know this, but Franklin Roosevelt was stricken with polio, and he spent most of his presidency in a wheelchair. There's only like one time where you have pictures of him walking. You know, there wasn't a lot of visual media back then, so he hid his disability in the news. And I think about, you know, one thing, how polio didn't hold him back from being president and from being one of the most probably revered presidents in American history, but also we conquered polio. We developed a vaccine for polio, and polio was a deadly, disabling disease. And the great thing about this time frame, which wasn't true when we had the first round of flu and wasn't true when we had smallpox, we now have much greater knowledge of science. We now have much greater technology, and that technology is going to help us. Science is what's going to help us get out of this situation. We really need to lean into the science and lean into the experts and take the lessons from history. Do I personally think our leadership around this issue has been great right now? No, there are some people who I think have been good leaders. I actually think a lot of people have credited the governor here in Maryland or the governor in Ohio, where I grew up, our public health officials like Dr. Fauci. They have shown some, I think, excellent leadership. Some other people, not so much. But we can't focus on the worst case scenario. We have to focus on keeping our energy up to be resilient and knowing that we are resilient as a people and that we've done this before. And so do not despair. There's a lot of hope for us to be able to get out of this. And all we've been asked to do is to stay at home. I know that's not the easiest thing, but think about a couple months ago, if someone would have told you didn't have to go to school and you got to stay at home, you would have been thrilled about it. So this is not the biggest ask. It's a sacrifice that we're making for the greater good. And I would just remind everybody, the upside, as much as this is a terrible disease that's going around and many people are dying, most people do not die, right? Most people make it through this and go on, and we're learning from those people. And we are, we're getting, now people are donating blood with the antibodies to help people who are very sick. We have got to come together. We have got to rely on each other. And this is a great chance to try to make a difference in the community, to try to, think about this. This, as much as this is a terrible thing, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to rethink what we've been doing and what we've been doing in this country. We've had a lot of growing socioeconomic inequality since the 1980s. The rich have gotten really rich in the United States, and the poor are getting poorer, and we're losing our working class and our middle class. This is an opportunity for us to lean into rethinking some of the policies. We don't want to see people hungry. We don't want to see people without health care. It's a great time to work on making a difference, right? Or maybe you really believe in science and technology. It's a great time to lean into that and try to make a difference through science, through research. I think all of us, think about the environmental issues. I don't know how many of you have been paying attention to the fact that the air, I guess, is a lot cleaner right now without all this manufacturing. Maybe we as people can use this to think of a way to relive our lives, to cut down on things like pollution and global warming. So sometimes out of the worst things come some of the best changes. I think about a few years back when my son was in the children's hospital and he was diagnosed with diabetes, and I could have sat there and thought, this is the worst thing. He's going to have to get 4 or 5 shots a day for the rest of his life. There's no cure. I don't know how many carbs are in all these different foods. And I had those thoughts. But I could tell you now, and this year will be 2 years later, I can look at an apple and tell you how many carbs are in it. We don't think that much about the shots. We really understand how to manage this. My son's a happy, healthy kid. Is life harder with this? It's harder. But it's not the end of the world, We are resilient. We are adaptable. Sometimes they say what doesn't break you makes you stronger. I'm not all for trying to break people all the time, but we can learn from these kind of things. So I want you all to focus on these things. Focus on getting into some sort of routine, connecting with others, feeling a sense of gratitude, thinking about how you can make a difference, putting this in perspective, historical perspective of your life. And I've spent like 14 minutes talking about this, but I'm thinking about all of you. I know if I were face to face with you in class, I'd probably be blabbering on and on about this stuff anyways. I feel bad that I'm not sitting face to face doing that, but this is an opportunity, and we also can connect with each other. I appreciate when I see you all in the text helping each other, telling each other when things are due. That helps me, because frankly, I'm just as overwhelmed as you all are trying to make videos day after day after day and learning how to edit these videos and taking hours at a time and trying to yell at my children to do their homework. I understand, that feeling, but I also know that we can't get bogged down in that feeling, and we have to work on doing the best we can do. So I'm just thinking about everybody. I'm sending you this really long message to let you know that. You all want to comment in the comments on the video, if you have any advice for your classmates or me, what I can do better, what we can all do to work together, I would greatly welcome that, and hopefully we can have a dialogue, because we don't have to talk about classwork all the time. These issues are about sociology, for one. So that's my message to everybody. I miss you guys, and keep checking in with me. I'll talk to you guys in the video chat.